Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video with Gem Mint Masters. We got a PSA pre-submission video here for you today, and I gotta say, this is probably my largest, well, not probably, this is my largest submission with PSA ever. There's a little bit of a story to it, so just bear with me for a minute, and I'll kind of explain how we got to this point. But, you know, I've been buying collections for a while now. Mostly smaller collections, but I've teamed up with a buddy recently, and it's given, you know, both of us the ability to really kind of reach out and branch out a little bit more, look for larger collections. And this is, I would say, yeah, this is the first one that we've done together. And we purchased a massive collection, I would say, over 1,500 Jordan cards, all from one person. As fate would have it, it was about 10 minutes from my house, shockingly. This was something we found online through one of the groups we're part of. And so we were able to, or I was able to get over there, check them out. Great collection. Probably paid about market value for them, but it had a lot of really good stuff in here. So, you know, obviously when you're doing raw to grade, there's a bit of a gamble, but that was really the intention of this because it's 100% raw cards. 1,500, like I said, ranging from the lowest of low end all the way up to some pretty decent stuff, which you'll see in here. But enough of that. I just wanted to give a little context, and I'll say if you are looking to sell your collection, you know anybody that's looking to sell your collection, reach out to me, because this is, you know, like I said, this is something we've really been expanding and doing. Yeah, I'm always looking for new collections to buy, and anything generally that we buy we'll put on here, and you know, hopefully make for some really great content to show everybody. So thanks again. So here's the cards. I'm gonna just go through them. I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly because there's a lot, like I said, and I'll try not to focus too much on each card, but when I get to some of the bigger ones, I'll just point them out. But there's a lot of low end in here, but there's also some really good stuff. But it's, you know, when I evaluate a collection like this, especially of this size, I'm looking at every single card to see if it's gradable. And then kind of my process after that is I am then going, once I've evaluated and said this card is gradable, I'm going to look to see if it makes sense to grade it. Pretty much any Jordan card is going to have some good value in a 10, but does it have value in a 9? Does it have value in an 8? Because the reality is some of these are going to get those grades. So you really got to look for that. So if I'm going to be grading a pretty low end card, it's got to be almost flawless to me. So yeah. And there are some in here that are kind of fall into that gamble category. But all right, let's get going on this. These first two chunks under these cardboard, I'll just flip through really fast. But within this collection, there was I think a lot of us have probably heard of these rare air sets. It's like a 90 card set that you can buy. Sneaky value in these, to be honest. And I learned something through this process that if you look on the back, there's a hologram. You can see that one, that's the silver hologram. So we've got, you know, a handful of silver hologram cards. I'm only doing, I think, 10 or 11 of this one. And I really have picked out the ones that have, this is probably one of the ones that has the most value right there. You really got to look at each one of these individually. The silver set is apparently the common set, and not a ton of value in those, but there are some with some decent value, 80 to 100 bucks, let's say. But then you go into some of the other sets that were out there. There were two sets in this collection. One was the silver hologram, and one was the gold. You can see the gold there. So all of these cards have the gold hologram. So I've got about, I think, 15 or 16 of these. Super low population on this gold hologram. Again, something I didn't even know until I did this. But pretty much any card that has a gold hologram, if you can get a PSA 10, sneaky value there in the $200 to $300, maybe even more dollar range. So we'll see how this comes out, because this is my first time getting into the rare air set as well. I've never really even had any experience with this. I did a ton of research just to figure out, you know, what you know, what to grade. So, all right, now we've got the bulk of the rest of the stuff. We're going to go through, and again, like I said, I'm not going to focus too much. I'm not going to focus on each individual card unless I get to a really big one, but I'll kind of explain as we go. So, all right, this first chunk here, we've got some really decent, you know, low end stuff, but nice card stock on those Athlete of the Century. Pretty low end on some of this Upper Deck and Victory. These are the ones you got to really make sure are pretty much flawless. A bunch of random kind of Upper Deck stuff in here. I will say, like, when I was doing research, it's hard to find some of this stuff. But again, like, I'm looking for almost a flawless surface, corners, edges on everything in here. This is kind of a cool one. Nice foil Phi Beta Jordan. There's a ton of those out there, but if you can get a good one in good condition, it's worth it. Again, some more low end here. Again, you want to be pretty selective and only looking for near perfect or perfect copies on those. Then we start to get into the better stuff. I'll just kind of grab a chunk out of here. Some of these are kind of no-brainers, you know, $300 to $500 in a PSA 10. And, you know, when you get to, like, here's a good example. This is probably going to get like a 7, but it's still valuable enough to make it worth grading. The Dynamic Dunks, foil all the way around. It could get an 8, actually. There's some potential there, but that's the one where if you have this knowledge, otherwise you'll figure it out as you go. A card like that, when you're cost averaging everything at about $4, $3 a card, it's worth grading a card like that because you're going to get your money back at least. And hopefully a little bit more. Again, a bunch of kind of nuanced Upper Deck. This is a pretty sought after card, the Higher Power. I didn't even realize that was in there until I started looking through it. These 3 cards are interesting. They're all numbered. What those out 3,000, that's the red, and then we got 2 of these golds out of 1,500. Definitely have some corner issues on all of them, but just immense value on these graded either way. And again, you know, when my cost is $4 a card, I'm willing to take the risk on these golds, especially, and this red, which looks a little bit better. There's still some decent value, even in like a 7 again on something like that. People really want those number Jordans. So right here, one of the best cards in here, the Total D, really great looking copy. These are almost notoriously off center. I just graded one of these, got an 8, and personally, I think this one looks a little bit better. So I guess we're going to see what happens, but even an 8, that's a $300 card, so great. No-brainer on this one, really good looking copy. Go through some more kind of low-end stuff, but even some of this low-end like that, $300 potential. You kind of got to learn this stuff over time, and if not, just do the research, spend the time. It's absolutely worth it. Really nice looking All-Star copy here, super high value in a 10. You know, some of this stuff, this one I peeled the protector off, looked really great, perfectly centered, but as I've said on a lot of the finest stuff, I definitely peel. I think it's just better that way. Center Stage, another one where it's going to probably get like a 7, but still worth it. Really nice looking copy of the Spark Plugs. Very curious to see what that comes back at. Super hard card to gem. I don't think I've seen a good copy of this this All-Star. This is one of the best I've seen. So we'll see. There's got some, you know, solid value there. Beam Team, one of the better cards in here. Really nice looking copy. Small corner issue there. You know, a lot of mid-range stuff. This was kind of interesting. This is a Goodwin Champions, unlicensed, but numbered to 349. So that'll be interesting. These cards right here, I was a little hesitant, and we'll see how this goes, but these are, oh man, so many of those out there. There's probably like hundreds of those in this collection. Picked out only the ones I thought looked flawless. So I think I got about 10 of those. So those are the ones where it's like top value, $100. Maybe even more, like 70. But again, when your cost is only in the $25, $30 range, if you can get 70 for each one of those, if you think they're all going to get 10s, then you've got to get shot. Again, some really top level stuff here. Scoring Kings, 2nd year, really nice looking copy. We got this Standouts that looks great. A lot of these cards with like the foil, it's mostly issues are on the back. So just check those carefully, but still, again, no-brainer to grade that one. Great set, Area 23. This is a one I'm interested to see. And then we go back to some more kind of low to mid, some nice metal. Those are always great. That's a good looking copy. And then kind of finishing off with a low end set like this Ionics. But these actually, this is an interesting one. If you see these Ionics, and then it's also kind of that, it's in that same, where'd it go? Set as, thought I had it in here. Oh yeah, the Area 23, same set, the Ionics. Super high quality card stock on those. So if you ever come across those, you should have pretty good, it should be a pretty good bet that you're gonna see some good quality copies on those. So but look over them. I think those are good ones to submit if you're playing around with it. You can get them for fairly cheap, and then there's some sneaky value on those as well. But yeah, that was pretty quick. I went through that super fast, but this is a big collection, like I said. 126 gradable cards that most likely we'll be sending all of those out of over 1,500 cards. So that'll just give you kind of a sense. I knew going into this, because I've done this a bit, I've estimated around 10% of the cards will work out to be gradable, and that held perfectly true to this. A little less than 10%, but still, you know, my maximum expected gradable, you know, card total was going to be around 150, and we got to 126. So I consider that a success. Now we'll just kind of sit and wait for months and months and months until PSA gets these back to us, and see how we did. But stay tuned, and we'll have some great content on these in the future when we get these back. I'm not sure if we're going to do them all in one big order. We're going to split them up. Whatever it may be, you'll see them coming back at some point on the channel. So thanks again for joining. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one. And don't forget, if you have a collection to sell, drop me a line. Happy to take a look. Thanks.